Hey, welcome. So today, we're going beyond the AI that just, answers questions. We're actually going to pop the hood and look at the architectural blueprints for a whole new class of AI. We're talking about systems that are designed from the ground up to think, to plan, and to act all on their own. We are literally going inside the minds of the next generation of AI.
So this all boils down to one central question, doesn't it? How do you actually build an AI that thinks for itself? I mean, one that doesn't just sit there waiting for you to type a command, but can actually go out and pursue its own goals in our messy, complex world. Okay, let's dive in. The answer, or at least the beginning of it, is a concept called Agentic AI. Now, put simply, these are systems that don't just react, they act. They can actually perceive what's going on around them, make decisions based on that, and then take actions, all on their own, to reach some pretty complex goals. So yeah, think less like a simple calculator and way more like a digital assistant that has its own initiative.
And what's so cool about this is the mental shift it forces on us, the builders. To make these things work, we have to stop thinking like coders who are just writing instructions one line at a time. We need to start thinking like architects, designing the deep foundational structures, the interconnected systems that actually allow for this kind of intelligence to emerge.
To really get this, let's just put it side by side. On one side, you've got traditional AI. It's kind of like a train on a track. It follows rigid scripts, it's a very specialized tool, and it really only reacts when you give it a direct command. But on the other side, you've got Agentic AI. This is more like an all-terrain vehicle, a general problem solver that can navigate a huge open landscape. It sets its own sub-goals and acts autonomously to get the job done. I mean, the difference is night and day.
All right, so if we're the architects, what are we building with? What are the bricks and mortar of this new kind of intelligence? Let's crack open the blueprint and break down the core components that make up an Agentic AI's mind.
First up, and you could argue this is the most important piece of the puzzle, is the memory module. This is the absolute foundation that all learning is built on. I mean, think about it. Just like us, an AI can't learn, it can't adapt, can't have any real context if it can't remember its own past. So let's see how that's structured.
The best way to think about this module is like a giant digital library. It's got a short-term memory, which is kind of like a sticky note on its monitor for whatever it's working on right now. But then it also has a long-term memory, which is this huge, sprawling archive of every single thing it's ever done, learned, or experienced. But here's the critical part. It's not just about storing stuff. The real magic, the hard part, is retrieving the exact right piece of information at the exact right moment. That's what gives the AI context. That's what lets it learn.
But okay, having a great memory isn't enough, right? You need a way to actually use that knowledge to make smart decisions. And that brings us to component number 2, the planning module. You can think of this as the AI's inner strategist, or maybe its own little project manager. Let's call this the master drawing. When you give the AI some big, hairy, audacious goal, this is the part that kicks in. It uses reasoning techniques like chain of thought to break that huge goal down into a series of small, logical, doable steps. And here's the thing, if it hits a wall, it doesn't just give up. It adapts. It reroutes the plan. And maybe most importantly, there's this constant feedback loop. It's always reflecting on its own performance, analyzing its missteps so that the next plan it makes is even better. So our AI has a memory to learn from and a planner to cook up a strategy. But a plan is totally useless if you can't actually do anything in the real world. And that's where a third core component comes in, the tool use module. This is how the AI gets its hands dirty, so to speak. Imagine this module is the agent's workshop. It's just filled with all these tools that let it do things far beyond what it was originally programmed for. With these tools, it can actually browse the web to get real-time info, it can write and execute a piece of code to do a complex calculation, or it can tap into an API to, say, book a flight for you. This is the key. This is how the agent actually interacts with and changes the digital world around it, breaking free from the limits of its own static knowledge. Okay, so we've got our 3 core components: memory, planning, and tools. But how do they all fit together? How do they talk to each other? Let's assemble the whole structure and see this blueprint come to life.
Let's walk through a real-world example. Say you give the agent a goal. Summarize the latest findings on quantum computing and email it to my team. Okay, first the planning module kicks in and breaks it down. Step 1, search for recent papers. Step 2, read and synthesize the info. 3, write a summary. 4, figure out who's on my team. 5, draft the email. Then, the tool use module gets to work.
It uses a search engine tool, a PDF reader tool, and then it opens up your email client. And the whole time, the memory module is keeping track of everything it finds. And then finally, before it does anything, the agent reflects. It looks at the summary it wrote, compares it back to your original goal, refines it, and only then does it hit send.
So, that's the how. Now let's talk about the why. Why does this architecture matter so much? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the absolutely incredible future that this kind of thinking is starting to unlock. And look, this isn't science fiction. This is the real, tangible potential of agentic AI. We're talking about autonomous researchers that can chew through millions of data points to spot a pattern that leads to the next big scientific breakthrough. Or hyper-personalized tutors that adapt in real time to every single one of a student's strengths and weaknesses. We could have automated business analysts monitoring the market, or even creative collaborators helping an artist bring some complex vision to life. The possibilities are huge.
You know, this really gets to the very heart of the whole thing. This quote just sums up the entire shift perfectly. The era of just commanding our technology, of treating it like a simple tool, is evolving. We are now stepping into an era where we are building digital teammates that we can genuinely collaborate with on really hard problems.
And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. The architectural blueprints are on the table. The foundational ideas are pretty well understood now. So the question isn't just for a handful of developers anymore, it's for all of us. What should we build next?